senior year of college, I got shot in a robbery. During that time was the moment I fell in love with music. You know the best thing that happened is Bad and Bougie. He said, have you guys heard that song? And the next day, that shit just like, who are you? Are the CEO? You did this? I was like, man, you can't put a title on what the fuck I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just run a business.
Man, I'm super excited about this one. Got my brother to the room, friend to the room, my music mentor, one of the first guys that ever helped me out in music. Actually, shit, you helped me get my job and my first deal. I got my job on my own with some with an extra call from Coach K.
Little thumb on the scale.
We got the legendary Coach K in the house.
How my brother's doing today? This feels good though. This is good. Some of the conversations that we have just amongst us.
Yeah.
I guess the people can join in on it.
Man, so for the people who don't know you, which is kind of impossible at this point, but give us a little bit about yourself.
Kevin Lee is my name. I guess I got this AKA Coach K name that I built and made in the music industry, entertainment industry. I've been in the music business for now 26 years. I made 26 years this year. I came into the business 26 years ago trying to figure out my life. I fell in love with it. Before music, sports was my way, I would say my way out of circumstances that I was in, like just growing up in Indianapolis, Indiana. There's a place that doesn't give black men opportunity. It's like a lot of my friends after high school, they didn't go to school, they went and worked in a factory, like a blue-collar factory. Making it in Indianapolis, like, yo, I'm going to go work at Chrysler. Man, my father works at Ford. I'm going to go get a job there. I never had a vision of that shit. So I went to school and I went to school on a basketball scholarship. I went to play basketball. That was my way out of my circumstances, the ghetto projects. My mom's single parent, so I always focused down on like, oh, this is going to be my way out. So I really went hard at sports. Got a basketball scholarship. I went to school and I went to several schools actually. My freshman year, I I stayed home in Indianapolis and played at a school called IUPUI, which is Indianapolis. It's Indiana University, Purdue University in Indianapolis. It's like it's one of those commuter schools, but now it's huge. It's like 50,000 students now. But at the time, because at the time they only had like one dorm. It's a commuter school, but now it's huge. They D1 now. They Division I. They were NAIA school at the time. So I stayed home so I could be close to my mom. Because my mom never missed a game. And
never missed one game.
Never missed a game.
That's crazy.
Like, even when I was a kid, she coached. You know what I'm saying? Like, to make sure that I played. You know what I mean? She, like, Little League, she coached. Or she was a team mother. You know what I'm saying? Where she cooked for the kids and all that stuff. But, so I stayed home. And I'm not going to lie. I went to class just enough so I could make it to play ball. As soon as basketball season was over, I fucking stopped going to class. And it was just, really I should have left Indianapolis to go to school because it was just so much going on. Like, it's, as a kid coming from, the circumstances that you deal with, you see things or you're around things that my mom kept me away from, meaning the streets. So the streets was like calling me. I'm at home, I'm around this shit. So after basketball season, I just stopped going to class. And the streets kind of grabbed me. But I knew that's not what I really wanted to do. So I ended up transferring. I was like, I got to get the hell out of here. So I ended up going to school. I went to a junior college up in Iowa. And it was a very, very culture shock because when I got up to that school, the only blacks in that town played sports.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? It was a little small town called Ellsworth, Iowa. And the school was really known for football. They were really good in football. Like, they went to the nationals in junior college. Like, all these D1 schools would send these kids there. Go there, get the grades, to bring them in, it's like to bring them to the D1. So when I got up there, I was like, oh shit, this is crazy, So I didn't end up even playing. I knew I didn't want to be there. So I just got my grades. I said, let me focus down, get my grades so I can get up out of here. So I didn't play. I got up out of there, and then I went total opposite. I went from this small little town, all white. And I said, I got to go somewhere I can be around my people. So I ended up going to a school in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's a HBCU, a historically black college, called St. Augustine's. I get there, start playing ball, but my eyes got open to a lot of other things.
The world,
Girls.
the money,
Girls,
the
cars, the street. Like, it was like everything that kind of my mother was keeping me away from growing up. I was away from that, so I had all this access to that shit. So here again, I'm playing sports, but I'm 1 foot here and I'm 1 foot, in the streets doing other things. And it's interesting, Mike, because earlier you said you want to know like what happened to me, why I walked the way I walked. But my senior year of college, I got shot in a robbery, and it's one of those things where it's like you know what you're into, so when things happen to you, you got to accept what comes with it, And that was the moment, Mel, as you start talking about music. I sat in Wake Medical, which is a hospital in Raleigh, North Carolina, for 5 months. Not
5
knowing,
months.
not knowing, yeah, because when I got shot, I got hit with a shotgun at point blank range, so it almost blew my leg off. So I had to have all these major surgeries, but then I caught a staph infection, and it was eating up all my white blood cells. So they had to keep me like, I had to stay longer, and my leg wasn't healing, so they had to put me on all these like vancomycin, like very strong antibiotics. So 5 months in the hospital, and that moment, my only escape out of the hospital was music. So I would put my headphones on. My body would be in the hospital, but the music would take me places. And as a kid, I always loved music. I was around music because, like I said, I'm kind of going back and forth, but I'm going to go back to my kid to bring it back up. When I was a kid, my mom and my grandmother worked at RCA, but not RCA as of, you would think, the music label. Yeah, they worked at a factory. Indianapolis had the largest pressing plant,
So they're pressing the 45.
So he's pressing the 45.
That's crazy.
My mom worked on the line, and my grandmother, she started out on the line, but she became a supervisor, a foreman, So we always had records and music. Our house was full of that, So I was around music. So let's fast forward. I'm in the hospital, and, I used to have these major, like, they would actually come get me, put me on this gurney, drop me down into this pool to clean my leg, like on like and drop you in the water. And it was so painful, and I would
Like
just
Han Solo.
Seriously, I'll put my headphones on to escape. During that time was the moment I fell in love with music, like really like the way I love sports, and I started like chasing it. Once I got up on my feet, I went back home to Indianapolis for rehab. And then once I got up on my feet, I would come down to Atlanta. A couple of my friends went to school in Atlanta. And when I was in college, I used to come back and forth to Atlanta. And I kind of seen a music scene happening in Atlanta during this time.
What year was that? Like,
this was 94.
Who was taking care of you in the hospital?
My mom.
That's a long
So my mother never left my bedside. I'm her only child. So when I got shot, you know, she stayed in the school, you know, the college.
Did she give you a tongue lashing first and then nice to you?
You know what's so crazy, man? That morning, I never forget that morning when I woke up because I got shot at like 2 a.m, February 4th, 1993. So when I woke up that morning, my mom was standing over me because I never, like when I got shot, I never fell unconscious until they took me under. Because I remember being in the fucking ambulance and they asking me my mom's name. You know, I gave them the phone number, you know, and she was at work. So I gave her the work number. They called my mother, but then I gave them my grandmother's number. They called my grandmother. My grandmother was able to get in touch with my mother. So I went into surgery. When I woke up, came out of surgery like 10, 11 that morning, my mom was looking over me. And she didn't give me a tongue lashing, but the crazy shit was having to see her face, how sad she was. That's what really hurt me the most. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, you know? But yeah.
Shit, I remember when I got shot, it was kind of like, I never went unconscious neither, but I was laying on the floor and I guess I was in shock.
Yeah.
I couldn't move my body, but I knew everything that was happening to me. Like I could see people moving, I could hear people screaming. I just couldn't move. And I remember when I could talk, I said the one dumb thing, two dumb things at the time. I told my cousin who was next to me, I was like, yo, bro, if I die, get my name tattooed.
That sounds like some Mel shit.
And then the next thing I said was, please don't tell my mother.
Yeah. How old was you?
I was 19.
I was 21.
It's crazy.
I remember,
of course, I got to the hospital and my mother was right there.
I remember telling the doctor, though, I never forget this. He came in, I had this big hole and this contraption on my leg. And I was like, they were like, well, you're young, you're healthy. You know, these are the options. We can either mend your leg together, amputate, we could try these surgeries. And I was like, you know, he gave me this option. The surgery's only been done like 3 times, but you're young. We feel like, you know, it can take. And I was like, man, I just had a son. 4 months before that, I was like, yo, you gotta save my leg. I gotta teach my son how to play basketball. You know? You have to.
You forgot to slip that in, the son, 4 months before.
Oh, yeah. I had a son 4 months before that.
Did you teach him to play basketball? Ish?
Some sort, yeah.
Ish.
But, yeah, I fell in love with music. And, you know, I started coming back and forth to Atlanta in 94. You know, like, me and my friends would come down, we'd kick it. And then, like, 1995... I was in Atlanta, down there doing something I shouldn't have been doing, and I ran into these young brothers that had a production company called Noontime. I never forget it. I never forget this. Like pulling up to their studio, and I was down with. It's crazy. I was down with one of my friends right now. He's life without parole.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We were down there just kicking it, and we pull up to the studio, and we pull up since '95. I'm 24. All these, they like 24, 23, 25. They got Range Rovers and BMWs and fucking nice watches on and shit. So first, my stupid ass, I'm like, so man, what y'all do? Y'all hustle? You know, like, they was like, no, we got a production company. I'm like, production company? It was like, yeah. I said, what you mean production? Like, yo, we got producers signed to us. We got artists. I was like, really? So I'm like, damn, you can get this doing that? And that's when the bug jumped on me. You know, I exchanged numbers with those guys, and to this day, you know, I'm like really, really good friends, you know, and kind of watched them. And then I moved to Atlanta, like on a mission, like if they can do it and they look just like me, they come from the same place, I can do this shit.
So what was the first move you made when you went down to Atlanta?
The first move I made was one of my friends that I grew up playing ball with, he got drafted by Atlanta Hawks, Allen Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Allen was kind of humble and quiet, you know, growing up. You know, his father was a surgeon, was a neurologist. His mom worked in education. So I felt like when he got to Atlanta, he wanted to get loose a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He was like, man, I want to start a record company. And I was like, really? I was like, that's interesting. So I'm down here like trying to figure that shit out. So he started a record company. And I would say that was my introduction to the music. That was my college because we know what the hell we was doing. This is real. And in the music business, there's no books that really can teach you this shit, man. You like have to really get in it and learn.
For real.
Yeah.
So we fucked off. We fucked off a couple $1 million in like a year and a half, you know? But like I said, the music business teaches you what not to do.
And that
not
was
what
his
to
that
do.
was his basketball.
That was his basketball money. So like after a couple years, you know, like that second year going into it, you know, he started tightening up. You know, his financial advisors just looking at him like, you know, the fuck are you doing? You know what I'm saying? So he started tightening up, but the name of the label was Hindu Entertainment too after his name. So for him, it was a hobby. You know, I think it was something that, you know, cool as he wanted to do. For me, it was my life. I was on the front line of it. So when he decided to close up shop, you know, I was like, I had kind of built a name out there. I probably built a name for cats was just really taking the money from me. Like, hey, you know, no, like
Hey,
seriously,
Coach,
they
you
got
need
a
an extra
bag over there.
$5,000. Go hit up Coach K.
Yeah, you know, no, for real.
Don't worry, that happened to me too.
You know, so you know, I learned from that shit, and you know, I started making a name for myself, and you know, then the first like artist that I can call mine that I broke, you know, was Young Jeezy. You know, I met him in the studio.
When you still with Hindu or that company?
No, I had left Hindu.
Okay.
Yeah, I had left Hindu.
Young Jeezy wasn't a rapper when you met him,
No, I
right?
wasn't a rapper. I went to serve Young. I was.
yeah.
it was
Statute of limitations. We
Yeah,
learned
yeah.
that the first episode.
yeah. You know, I was, you know, like I sold weed, so it was like I was pulling up. You know, okay,
Yeah.
I had a whole operation going on. You know, it was like through the studios. You know what I'm saying? Like I managed some producers. I was pull up to the studio with beats and marijuana because all artists like to, you know, all the
Yeah.
artists, all the engineers. Damn, I'm giving up some really good information.
They all were smoking weed.
They're all smoking weed. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody smoke weed, so it's like, okay, shit. I should.
As long as it's not fentanyl.
Fentanyl didn't even exist.
Hell no.
This
But no,
fentanyl
but
shit
no, I
is
met
bullshit.
Jeezy in 2001, and he wasn't rapping. He was actually
He was like a label owner,
he
right?
was a label owner. Man, I'll never forget when I walked in that studio. He was playing music, his artist music, and so I was like, I had my producer with me. I was like, boom. He was like, yo, I done heard of your name. You work with Pastor Troy. I was like, yeah. He was like, man, can I, let me play some music. All right, cool. But my whole thing was I wanted to sell some beats. Like I was coming over to hustle beats. You know what I'm saying? So as long as we leave out here and you buy some beats, you know. So he played me music. I was like, it's cool. So then he played me a song, and I was like, who is that? He was like, oh, that's me, man. But I just be fucking around. I'm like, I'm a CEO. I'm gonna be the next Master P. He was on that shit.
Yeah.
I was like, your voice is good. He's like, really? He looked at me. He's like, you really think my voice is good? I was like, yeah, like for real. He's like, okay. So he ended up buying some beats. By the end of the studio session, he was like, hey man, can you walk outside of my car with me? I was like, cool. We walk out to the car. We go down in his car. I never forget. This was like it's 2000. It's 2002, not 2001. It's 2002. He had a 2002 GS Lexus 400.
Man, that was my dream car growing
You know,
up.
and it was white. It was clean as hell. So he puts in a
He was young as shit too, right?
yeah, Jeezy at the time he was like 21.
That's
22.
crazy.
He puts a CD in the car, puts a CD in and it's some more songs of his. He's like, can I play you a couple more records? You like my voice? So I was like, yeah. So he played me a couple more records. I was like, bro, shit ain't bad. And we locked
Did
in.
he have the ad libs then?
Didn't have
Yeah.
Didn't have ad libs. He sounded totally different then.
The ad libs is
That was something that was created later on. But that was
you don't know
2002.
nothing about this, Mike.
What's the ad libs?
I'm still wondering
So
what beats. I'm
Jeezy
still
is-
wondering what beats are.
So ad lib is okay. Say
But Jeezy ad libs
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like a thing.
So you have your rap pattern, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you might get to a point and there's maybe a pause or a place in the record and you will punch in like an ad lib,
Like, yeah.
to fill in, you know what I'm saying, to fill in that part. It really just sauce. It's like extra sauce on the song. And his was
Like
really,
amenities.
His was
Yeah,
his,
yeah, I got
Like a man.
his was really good.
I've been good at the ad
because he had a really slow flow.
Uh-huh.
So in the pockets, you know what I'm saying, he might say something, then he might come in with a yeah, that's right. You know what I'm saying? It was just in these little pockets. And you might be listening to the record, you as a fan, but you'll be waiting on that ad lib because you would do the ad lib for the rap. You know, that was the sauce. That was the sauce. Yeah,
That was.
but yeah, that was the
definitely-
beginning of. I would say, Jeezy. He was the beginning. That was my first breakthrough. That was the first time I ever made any money off of artists. That was what me and him what we created together was something so special that they still doing today. Like artists,
Trap or Die.
yeah, but artists wasn't at the time in the South. Artists wasn't putting out mixtapes with original records on. And at the time in 2002, 50 blew up, and as a kid, I used to come back and forth to New York. I used to collect mixtapes, and I watched 50 like blow up. I was putting these mixtapes out with original songs on them. No one in the South was doing it, so I was like, "Oh,
Did 50 start that? Kind of, right?
Yeah.
Or was it DJ Clue more?
Nah, Clue would take freestyles.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
was
Clue would
taking
have all the artists come do
Yeah,
freestyles.
yeah,
50
yeah.
put original songs.
Yeah.
He put original songs out and called them mixtapes. You know what I'm saying? No one was doing that. So I took that, I was like, oh, I'm going to take that and I'm going to apply it to him. Jeezy has this crazy, compelling, real street story in these records. And I can't forget about BMF, because at this time, Jeezy was a part of BMF and this thing was like something you've never seen before. It was like watching the John Gotti story, but on our level in the streets. And you go into the clubs and you seeing this shit. They pulling up in cars and you seeing all this money.
Everybody wanted to be a BMF. I wanted to be a BMF.
And what Jeezy
I sent them
was-
20 emails. Nobody wrote me back.
What Jeezy did was he took the Atlanta lifestyle and the nightlife and he put it in the music. So you listening and you visually could see what was going on.
So he kind of like transformed or like switched the way Atlanta hip hop was like coming out of that.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like,
Because
shifted
trap
gears.
music was just coming in. So it was like him and T.I., him, T.I., and Gucci, they would say was the first ones. You know what I'm saying? But like Jeezy was such a, he just with the BMF and where he came from, his story, like it was so authentic. It was so authentic that what you seen and what you heard, it all matched up. And you
Jeezy
hear it in
made
the
you want to
music.
get money.
Are you still friends?
It's so crazy. So we split ways. We worked from 2001 to 2008, and we split. You know what I'm saying? We just split it ways, and we didn't talk for a long time. It was kind of a bad split. And February of this year, what was that, like, 2008, like 15 years later, 16 years later, we sat down like gentlemen, and we talked it out. And he had a performance with the symphony. And he was performing this album. It's called Thug Motivation 101, which I was one of the executive producers. Like, that was my baby. And he reached out to a friend of him. We have a mutual friend. He reached out to him and was like, I can't perform this album without Coach being there. Because that's his baby, too. You know what I'm saying? So
Nice.
we end up,
That's the album that, like-
And I
Never too late to make up with your friends.
No, sir. And I needed it, because I've been holding on to that shit for a long time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just things like this. You move on, but you don't forget. So, sometimes, I'm in interviews of certain things, people would ask me about him and it would, so for us to like sit down like men, and really talk through things, and have clear, and leave away with some understanding.
Yeah.
It was therapy
Felt
for me.
good.
I
Yeah.
needed that.
Yeah.
So when he performed that night, it was so wild. Me and him talked early that day. And I said, I'll come. And then he was like, man, why don't you bring me up? You know, so it's crazy. And I walked out on that stage because everybody knows the story of me and him together. We was like Batman Robin, you know what I'm saying? So when I walked out on that stage, everybody was just like, you know, and I wrote a speech.
Oh, people didn't even know you was coming.
They didn't know I was coming.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I sat there after me and him talking. I just wrote down everything. You know,
I seen the speech too.
yeah, you know, I was like real. Like I said some real shit on there. You know what I'm saying? That I needed to get off. And he was like, man, it's your stage. He was like, it's your stage. Whatever you say, I got to be able to take it. You know, and it felt good afterwards. You know what I'm saying? And afterwards, we celebrated and had a good time. And it's so wild because about 2 weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, we hadn't really seen each other since then. We've talked though. We got together. We met up for lunch, and it was wild. Back when we were together, like when I was managing, we used to always go to Houston's to eat. You know, I sit in the car and play music. So we met up at Houston's and we ate, and then we went in the car. And he was playing me some new records. You know, I was playing him some things. It just felt like old times. Yeah.
It's crazy because, like, in hip hop, right, one of the most successful labels, I think we all kind of, you know, I wouldn't say grew up, but the era, with me grew up, Coach, it was definitely your era too, was like Rockefeller. Rockefeller was like the dream label everybody wanted to be part of. Master P, everybody wanted to be Master P, Cash Money. And like, if you, to this day, if you got two successful artists, like two, if you got two, shit, Rockefeller only really had three, right?
Yeah.
They had Kanye West, Jay-Z, and who else?
Those are two pretty good ones.
That's what I'm saying, right?
And
They might have just had two.
Beanie Siegel.
Beanie Siegel.
And then Cam came.
And then Cam came, right?
Dipset, yeah.
But Cam Siegel wasn't superstars like Hov and Kanye.
Hov and Kanye.
You know what I'm saying? And like most labels that could sell for a ton of money and blew up had two. If you got three, you got lucky. Coach with QC, you got like fucking five.
Yeah, we was, you know, but I studied, like, I studied, man. You know, I studied Motown. I studied Def Jam. You know, I really like Rockefeller and them, like, when me and Jeezy were together, I felt like we was gonna be the next Rockefeller, you know. To the point, it's so crazy. They was the first person I took Jeezy to.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
Didn't sign him.
When did you start QC?
We started QC in 2013.
Before that, when did you become Coach K?
Jeezy. He gave me, it was a name. It was a name because I'm a perfectionist. We used to be in the studio. We worked 3 years before we put out any music. So we've been in the studio
like this.
developing, you know, in the studio.
You might see this podcast in 2026.
Developing, you know, his style and skill. And, you know, like if an ad lib ain't right, he'd be like, man, do it over. And one day he was like, all right, coach. And I was like, because I'm big into branding, you know, branding and marketing. I'm like, I like that. I was like, from here on out, I'm taking that. And I'm like, and then I was like, Coach K, you know, I played ball in North Carolina, and, you know, Mike Krzyzewski is the most winningest coach. I was like, oh, I'm going to take this moniker. I'm going to run with this. You know, I'm taking this.
Did you ever meet the other Coach K?
Yeah, I met him before.
Have you guys hugged it out?
No, we didn't. He's retired now, so
He'd probably punch you. You know, he's been coach longer than you.
You know what's so crazy? So I was going to do when podcasting first started, I was going to do a podcast called Ask Coach K. You know,
I like that.
You know, so because it's especially in music, you know, I could give you the
man.
gems.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if next week this fucking podcast is called Ask Mike Novogratz and His Buddies.
but I couldn't get it because I went to look and I was like, oh,
He would do some shit like that.
I couldn't get the name, you know, because you know, so yeah. But yeah, we started in 2013, man. But you know, before that, this goes along with Jeezy and other artists, Gucci, other artists I've managed. You know, you as a manager, you don't have any equity in the business. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's strictly commission based. You know, so at the end of the day, you know, you building up these artists and their brand and their IP, but you don't have No, this
I
shit.
don't know if you noticed. Sorry, go ahead.
So
I don't know if you noticed, like, when we first met, maybe, I don't know, 12, 13 years now, you was going through that Jeezy shit of like building this crazy brand and getting fired as a manager.
yeah.
And that was like, I was managing Giovanni at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, you could get fired as a manager? And he was like, yeah, you could get fired as a manager. And that changed my whole shit. I never managed nobody since that day unless they were signed to my record label.
Because as a manager, you actually, which I don't knock managing because
Yeah, I don't knock it neither.
I still manage now. But the
I
moment,
manage, but only things that I have ownership
but
in.
the moment you start, putting your dollars into it, and you know, you don't have no ownership in you at, I feel like that's a loss because at any moment, you can be fired. So what I did was, okay, I built these artists and their brands, and I know how to market, and I know how to fucking A&R, and I know how to manage. I'm gonna start my own label. I'm gonna start my own label, and I'm gonna bet on myself because what I was doing, I was hustling basically. I find an artist, I develop them, and then I run them to the label.
That's what I was doing.
You know what I'm saying? And you run to the label, and you do this deal, but they sign to the label. And you get a little money, you get a little
like a finding fee
little,
kind of
little,
thing.
little tap on, tap. Now you got to still build the artist. The label's financing it now. And then you're making a commission, off whatever the artist makes. But I was like, this is not smart because damn, who owns and the label? Oh wow, okay, so I got to get some financing, so I can put forth the money, so I can have ownership, invest in it, so.
So where did the money for QC come from?
When I met my business partner, we became partners in 2013. P had a studio. P had some success in real estate, and he had this studio, and I was managing Gucci Mane at the time.
Damn,
And
you had so many successes, bro.
and Gucci Mane were best friends. So when we used to be on the road, I never forget this shit. We used to be on the road, and people used to be on the road because Gucci don't travel with a lot of people. He's not like a lot of these artists that have all these fucking entourages. And so he's like, you know what? That costs too much. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
he's been like that.
Oh, he's been like that.
Oh, wow.
Like for real. So we'd be on the road, 3, 4, maybe, not too many people. If you're on the road, me and him used to have this conversation. I said, on the road, it's assets and liabilities. Assets has a job. They have a place to be. A liability is the guy, you know what I'm saying, that's smoking weed, just trying to talk to girls and steps on some guy's shoe. They get to fight and the shootout happens. And now the artist is liable. You know what I'm saying? So he learned that early. You know what I'm saying? So we used to be on the road, and then I remember P popped up on the road, and I was like, damn. And we got cool, and he just used to watch. And I would hear stories about P. Like, I used to hear a lot of stories about him. And one day, he came up to me and said, man, I've been paying attention to what's going on. He was like, oh, so you the one who be doing everything. I was like, yeah. He was like, man.
This is how much months into y'all riding around.
This is months later,
That's
because
crazy.
P had a record company. Same like I said about Allen Henry, had a record company with a lot of money, not knowing, so he approached me. He was like, man, I just built this studio. I just put a lot of money into this studio, but I don't have any artists. He said, I'll give you the studio. I just want to make my money back off the studio and make a percentage. So I went over to the building, walked around. I was like, oh, this studio's dope. And it was something I never had. I always wanted a place where I could develop talent, but I just wasn't liquid enough. I didn't have, I'm hustling. As a manager, you're always hustling. You putting back in, So I wasn't. I didn't have that mind state of I'm gonna take my money and I'm gonna build a factory. He had the factory. I'm like, oh shit, he has the factory. So I was like, hell yeah, I'll take it. So once we got in, I was like, bro, should get back in the music industry. He was like, oh, hell no. He said, man, I done wasted so much money in the music industry, and we don't have no artists. I said, we got artists. He said, where? I said, I can get the Migos right now. So I had been talking to him, but I was going to take him to a label.
Yeah.
He was like, you can get the Migos? I said, yeah, I can get the Migos. He said, shit. Okay. 2 weeks later, we signed the Migos.
And that was QC.
And that was QC.
And when did the Migos blow up?
2013.
So right after.
So right after, like, they had a buzz going on, like, the internet. You know what I'm saying? Like, YouTube at the time was, like, the place where, and it's still the place, you know, where you find talent. Kids was going, they had a couple records that was moving. They just needed structure around that shit, you know?
Who did you meet of the Migos first?
I met Quavo, and I met Quavo and Takeoff because Offset was in jail. Because when I met them, I was actually managing Gucci at the time. And Gucci used to have all these artists at his studio. Like he's one of the best A&Rs in the business, you know?
I always hear that.
No, one of the best,
He tried to sign City Morgue.
This Young Thug,
Yeah.
when at the Brick Factory, that's the name of his studio, the Brick Factory. It was Thug and Amigos and Pee Wee Longway and just a bunch of talent just coming through there working. You know what I mean? And Gucci was gonna sign. He was gonna sign Amigos, but you know something happened and they ended up wasn't gonna sign with him, so they was going to go to a label. You know, and at the time Gucci was about to go to prison. Like he had like a couple months out, he was going to have to turn himself in. You know what I'm saying? He went and did like 2.5 years, something like that. And so I was like, I can't let this opportunity, you know, I'm not going to let these boys go sign, you know. So I approached them, hey, start this label. Because first they came to me for management, and I was like, nah, I got to sign these kids.
Mhm.
So me and Pete came together, and we signed them.
You manage him too?
Kind of, sort of.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, kind of.
And what was like the hook that you got him to sign on that label versus going somewhere else?
Oh, they just knew they knew the history.
Uh-huh.
They knew my name and like my history
Yeah.
in the business. Like I'd already been in the
Trusted
business
you.
10 years, you know,
Yeah.
like, so they kind of knew,
Uh-huh.
you know, what was like, as soon as we met, they was like, oh shit, you Coach K. You work, you know, Gucci's one of their favorite artists. Oh, Jeezy. Like they knew. So it's like,
So it's really getting the first big artist that credentializes.
Yeah.
most definitely. Yeah.
And then they, you know,
So then
everybody
it was
wanna
like,
sign with you.
we signed Migos. And then the next up to bat was Yachty. The next big one was Yachty.
What was the moment though? I gotta ask you all because I'm just fucking intrigued myself. Like, what was the moment, real quick, you felt Gucci? I'm not Gucci. Jeezy was because Jeezy, for real, for me, Jeezy was bigger than the Migos.
No, facts.
in my era, you know what I'm saying?
No,
It was
facts.
like,
No, he was the biggest.
it was like, what the fuck
I mean,
is happening?
Jeezy at that time,
What was the moment you
and
knew?
you might get, I mean, New Yorkers might say this, but
remember that CNN shit?
Jeezy was probably more relevant than Jay.
Really?
No,
At that
seriously,
point?
at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
But you from New York, bro.
But he was. it
I'm
was
from
they
New
were-
York.
But they were,
You from New York. Jeezy from the South. And New York was on him like that. And the whole South. Jay hadn't really, the South still, you know what I'm saying? Like, to Big Pimpin', like the South wasn't and it's real, and to Big Pimpin'.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, but you from Brooklyn.
but they were in the conversation.
But Jay,
He
I'm
was
just
in the
saying,
conversation.
I'm
I'll
saying
say
Jay,
that.
Jay was much bigger, but I'm saying like irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's moments where fucking some of these smaller artists is more relevant than the bigger artists. You know?
Not Jay and Jeezy though, but I'm gonna let you have that because you're from Atlanta.
I'm not from Atlanta, but that's where I made my money.
Now you're from Atlanta. Now you're from Atlanta.
Now you're from Atlanta.
You're an adopted Atlanta.
But what was the moment? What was the song or like the moment where, like, for me, for real, with City Morgue, I literally just had that moment when this last show we went to, and they've been 5 years making money, but this last show we just went to and we sold out, every state, but I didn't go to every show. I
Yeah.
went to, me and Mike went to the one when Mike joined the mosh pit.
I seen him in the mosh pit.
I recommend that highly. Mosh
When I
pits are
walked
fun.
outside and it was just like, we had no support acts. We wasn't sharing the stage with no one. I walked outside and like, it was hundreds of thousands of kids outside, all with I was like,
The moment,
yo, this is a real thing.
the moment with Jeezy,
Yeah.
we put out Streets is Watching mixtape.
Oh man, that was my shit.
And we pressed up like 100,000, put them on the streets. And within a month, the phone started ringing, right? And we were doing the chitlin circuit. Like we were doing these shows and we was going to these cities. When I say the chitlin circuit is a circuit that was made by like blues and soul artists in the 50s and 60s. You know what I'm saying? Where the blacks couldn't go play. It made a city. So they created this circuit, you know, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, you know, all Columbia, South Carolina, all these little town markets, you know, where these pockets are, we was beating them up. And we put that mixtape out in September. No, we put that mixtape out in July. And by July to February, it was like 5 months. We did $6 million on the road.
Damn. All cash too, right?
All cash.
It's
We hadn't even put an
crazy.
album out yet.
Yeah, that'll do it.
We hadn't even put an album out yet, bro.
That's crazy.
We had our own tour bus. It was crazy, man. And then we did Trap or Die mixtape. I knew it was a wrap.
When did the Snowman shirt? Was that Trap or Die mixtape or before that?
Snowman, like right before Trap or Die.
So they had this Snowman shirt that literally just had a snowman on it.
It's
But
like an evil eyes.
Jeezy was known for like
That was
rapping
his name.
about.
No, his nickname was a Snowman. He said, Jeezy Snowman, call me Snowman.
Yeah.
So that was a name that was a moniker he took on. And this is a real story. So, you know, in a rap game, you kind of known by your jewelry or your piece back then. You know, like, so he
He had the Snowman.
He
piece.
went, you know, I went.
Wish you made that, right, Will?
I went down to Fezzy, and I was like, "Geez, you should do the Snowman." So we went down to Fezzy, drew the Snowman. He made the piece, but what was so dope, because when we did the Snowman, we didn't know what the face was gonna look like, but he made the Snowman with these eyes. Instead of smiling, he had these kind of like evil eyes. I mean, like the over the accent eyebrows over the eyes, right? And I got to give it up to Sean Pecos. Sean Pecos, marketing, he did promotions for Def Jam Records. We got a deal at Def Jam. And Sean Pecos was like, bro, man, y'all got to do these snowman, y'all got to do these T-shirts. Because Jeezy wore this, T from Exclusive Game had created this jersey with the snowman on there. And Sean Pecos was like, yo, you got to do these snowman T-shirts and give them out in the hoods. So what we did was, coming up to New York, doing the Rucker games and shit, we made these snowman T-shirts and we put Washington Heights on the back. All the hoods were like.
Y'all did Flatbush?
I don't think we didn't
It's
do
fucked
Flatbush,
up.
but we did all the we did all the like what
All the real hoods.
where the drugs like we did Washington Heights, we did Brooklyn, we did certain ones,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and we gave those T-shirts out. So that shit started spreading through New York. And I remember when we came up to Rucker Gang.
They started banning these shirts from school, right?
And yes, they started.
That was
on
it made
CNN.
CNN.
Because what happened was the bootleggers got a hold of the shirts and they just spread. It was some shit, and we didn't make no money off the damn shirts because I didn't know nothing about merch then. You know, I didn't understand the merch game, like none of that. We did not make any money off the.
You
damn
couldn't
stuff.
walk without seeing this shirt. The shirt was on CNN. They was talking about
The kids couldn't wear them to
the
school.
kids couldn't wear them to school. Mind you, it's just a snowman shirt. But everyone, I had like 5 of them. Everybody you assumed what you assumed. People assumed the snowman meant coke.
Yeah.
Nobody never said that. It ended up on CNN, right?
Yeah.
It ended up being banned from schools.
New York
A
schools banned them.
snowman T-shirt. Like, it was the craziest shit in the world. Well,
Viral marketing.
Yeah.
viral marketing. Damn, I thought y'all made millions off that shirt.
No, we didn't, man. That's one moments I kicked my. You know, like those are those defining moments where you learn things because I never knew about merch.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, merch? What are you talking about? And somebody tried to give us a merch deal, and I was like, I'm not giving, you know, because I didn't understand, you know.
So 10 years from starting QC to selling it,
Yes.
or selling part of it at least.
Yes.
Migos, Yachty. When did you say, shit, we got a real thing? Was it after Migos? Just
It was after Migos. It was after
Bad and Bougie.
Bad and Bougie. You know what I'm saying? When Bad and Bougie took off, we got commercial appeal. Because before that, we was just a street label. You know what I'm saying? When Bad and Bougie took off that album, you know, the commercial appeal came.
How did
Yeah.
Bad and Bougie take off?
It took off because that was the
What
first.
was the viral moment like?
The viral moment was, for one, we did something we had never done before. That was the first time we had put up, like we used to we'd leak their records or put their records out on mixtape sites, my mixtapes. You know, that Piff. You know.
That Piff.
But that was the first time that we put a record up on SoundCloud. And during this time, where I said YouTube earlier was like the place where kids went to research music, SoundCloud was that place now, you know? And we put the record up on SoundCloud, and it just, I remember like 3 weeks later, like Migos was on the road. I remember them coming back like, yo, bro, we just performed that record, and it's only been out like 3 weeks, and everybody knew it word for word. You know what I'm saying? Because it was the viral. It's when the viral shit was happening, streaming, like right when streaming was happening. But the moment was when Donald Glover.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
When Donald Glover
Won
at
a
the
Emmy or
Oscar,
so-
he won
the
an
Oscar or
Oscar,
something.
Emmy, one of them.
Emmy.
He won an Emmy, and he was like, he was accepting his award, and he was like, you know, the best thing that happened is Bad and Bougie. He said, have you guys heard that song? The Migos.
As in his speech.
In his speech, and the next day, that shit just like.
The money started pouring.
Yep, and then we put the album out.
It jumped like hundreds of percent. Right?
Yeah, we had the number one. It was number one Billboard. It was the number one record. It jumped. Yeah.
Shout out to Danny Glover, man.
Donald Glover.
Donald Glover.
Yeah.
Danny was a Lethal Weapon. He's my friend. The old guys. Me and Danny are good friends.
But yeah, that was the moment, Mike. Like, we knew we had something, and then when we signed Yachty, you know, like Yachty was something different.
Shout out to Yachty. That's
Yeah, shout out.
another friend of the room.
Yeah,
That's true.
you know, when we signed Yachty, you know, when, because I know you guys, everybody in this room has diversified their business. You know what I'm saying? At some point, so that was that was the moment where we diversified our business, because we were kind of known as doing street music, or you know, and Yachty was this, you know, this kid, red haired kid, you know, who was totally different from what we was doing. But when I seen it and heard it, you know, I was like, oh shit, Yachty's just me when I was 18. Because I was a little eclectic. I'm from the hood now, but I was always on some eclectic, listening to different shit, right? And I saw something in him I was like, we could market this. So we signed him, and what I noticed about him, a lot of these rappers, you know, or entertainers, they create these identities of who they are, you know. But when I signed Yachty, I was like, oh, this kid is so cool in his skin of who he is, the confidence. I can take that and market and sell that. And he was young, it was fresh and new. You know, when he came in the game, he was like, you know, he was on some positivity. So what we did was we took that and I put him in front of all these brands. And they ate it up. You know, Yachty had a Sprite commercial with LeBron James. You know, he had Target. He had his own clothing line with Nautica. We did something with Reebok. Like, it was like all these brands just ate him up, you know? And that opened us up to another, it was like diversifying the business. Opened us up to a whole nother world. And not to mention, the Migos shit is going crazy at the time. Like, we got this album that's like, it's going so crazy and has crossed over. So it's like, we were able to feed the pop and the crossover, you know, what we were doing. You know what I'm saying? At the same time. And that, I think that was a defining moment.
Yeah. Is management a good bridge to get into like labels and ownership? Like if you're like starting out with nothing, is it like a good kind of place to start from in that?
I think so. I mean, like, yes, it is, because, you know, like, you know, starting a label, starting your own business, you know, you got to have capital. You know what I'm saying? And as a manager, if you're a good manager, right, you know, you can find an artist that's maybe signed that has the capital behind them. You know, you just have to have the vision to take the artist, or, you know, turn them into a brand, you know, where they're able to create capital, bring money in.
Yeah. So it's like a good core competency to start out from, to then raise.
Yes, because it taught me everything.
Yeah.
You know, being a manager first. Yeah. Taught me everything, because, you know, if you're a manager, you're dealing with the label, so you know where the money's coming from, you know how the money's being spent. You just don't have control of the capital.
How often does an artist say, you know, you bet on them, you're helping figure out how to build the brand, and they look back a couple years later when they were successful and they're like, it's all me.
Oh, every day.
All of them do that.
Every single one.
You know, all of them do that, man. So it's
part of the business, right?
But that's why you get into the label side of things, so they can't fire you.
So yeah, that's why I say, like, now it's like, with every artist I sign, with partners, basically. It's like, you know, if I'm gonna put skin in, and I'm gonna put my blood and sweat all in this, we're partners. You know,
who are your well, I don't want to pick favorite children. That's an unfair question, because you'll answer it, and then some other guys will give you some shit.
They're all your favorite children.
But look, right? So the one thing we always try to do with all our guests, you being number 2, right, is, you know, listening to this and watching it, you just get so excited about all the glamour. Coach made it. Da, 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 da. How many moments you had of like, fuck, I fucked up, or like, this shit is over, or just like feeling, you know, and I shared some of them with you too, like where you just felt hopeless, almost gave up, like, or, you know.
I mean, the music, I tell people all the time, the music business is like peaks and valleys, man. I think every business is like that, especially when you're building a business, you know. But, you know, the music business, because a lot of times, you know, it's a saying that's out there in the music business, you're only as good as your last hit. So, you know, you always chasing that, you know, and you know, there's times where, you know, I was like, yo, I can't do this shit anymore. You know, but then I have to dig deep back into my soul and say, you know what, like, I know how to get there. I have to keep going, you know.
How do you stay young? I mean, because, you know, the new artists are young. And so
it just it's really just staying attached to the culture. You know what I'm saying? And just staying, like, you know, here lately I've been feeling old as hell because I really don't go out no more. You know, like, there used to be a time where, like, in Atlanta's a little different now, but it used to be a time where, like, you could go out and you could feel the energy. You know, music, a lot of music is not broken the clubs anymore. You know, when I say bro, it's like breaking music, like, where you take the music to the DJ, play it. Now it's all social media.
TikTok.
You know what I'm saying? It's all through social media now. So it's like a different, you know, and you got to really be, you know what I'm saying? So now it's like, my thing now is investing in the youth, you know, like young executives. Like, how I find, you know, talent and develop talent, it's now finding the new young executives. I look at them as like they're the talent now.
Yeah.
You know, to keep it going.
Yeah.
You need a young Mel.
Yeah. I think it's also a lot like any business, right? How do you stay relevant in crypto? How do I stay relevant in real estate? How do you stay, like right with the youth?
You hire
it's
young,
like
smart people.
young, smart people.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
like what
and
you
stay
doing with Irby.
connected. Yeah, stay connected to
Irby
them.
is the youth.
Yeah.
Like,
I think all businesses are like that. Like as you age, you get experience, but you get a little more detached from what's on the cutting edge.
But what I can say though, like what drove me to keep going though, is man, it's finding these artists, man. Like most of the artists that we've signed come from nothing, and being able to develop them and change their lives, and watch them, change the lives of their circles is probably the sweetest thing. You know what I'm saying? That really keeps me going. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's just, like you can make so much money, but it's like when you're able to change, someone's life,
Yeah.
it's everything.
Yeah.
It's the joy,
Yeah.
I
understand that.
Shit.
What are some of the painful moments on the journey?
The painful moments is when you put your sweat and energy into an artist and someone gets in their ear and they come say, you know what, I think I want to go over here, or, you put all you fucking believe in, like, because you have to really believe in someone to take your own money and put it into them.
and most of the time it don't work. It's just like VC stuff.
You know what I'm saying? Most of the time, you're taking it's a gamble, So you take and put it in, and then they give you their ass to kiss. You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, really?
Yeah.
It's so painful.
And it's personal too
Oh,
in music.
it's
In
very
VC or what we do, there's a little more buffer in there. For you guys, it's like you spend this time, you get to know,
Yeah,
and then
VC,
it's-
if it worked, the guy is happy. He's like, oh my God, thank you, Dave. Thank you, Mike. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Here, sometimes when it worked, the artist is like, I did all this shit, man. Why I gotta pay you? Why I gotta, you know what I'm saying? So it's
I think
like,
because they're less sophisticated financially, maybe than like if you took that to a VC platform or someone that's a little bit more used to, right? So for them, it's like
Those are the moments, though.
and then for me, like another thing is too, and you went through this obviously, it's like it's a lot of violence in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like I lost a lot of people over the years. Like a lot of artists, friends. Like that's some of the most painful shit for me. Is like the violence that come with it, and not even just sometimes it's not even just like a murder or somebody getting shot. Sometimes you just got to stand up for your artist and be like in the middle of some shit you don't even want to be in the middle of, but it's your artist, and if you don't go stand in the middle of it and put an end to it, and that could go, either which way, that's kind of like some of the painful shit in it too, and some of the struggle in it too. It's not just like, it's not always a shootout, but it's so much politics that come with this shit. Like you got to go stand in the middle of.
Because most of our artists come from, like I was saying earlier, most of the artists that we deal with come from the streets, man. And you know what you're dealing with when you sign them. You know what I'm saying? And, we wouldn't be who we are if we didn't sign these artists. We're very good at storytelling. It's taking an authentic story. Like I tell, most of the artists that I've signed all have an authentic story to tell. You know what I'm saying? I don't really sign artists like. I don't chase artists off of all these numbers and data. Like I'm not a big, what's that shit? What they call that shit? Research.
Research.
I'm not
guy.
we've never did it at QC. We find an authentic story, and we build the story, and then we sell the story to the people. You know what
I
I'm
don't know
saying?
if you remember how I heard about Lil Baby.
Nah.
So I was in the studio with him in Atlanta, and P, his partner, ran in there. Was like, "Yo, the Lil Baby tape is done," and they played a couple records, whatever. It was dope, but I remember Coach was like, "Yeah, Lil Baby is this dude, like like he didn't want to rap. I like convinced him to rap, and he's just amazing at this shit." So like months went by, or maybe like even a year went by, but I just remembered that part of it. And one day I randomly called you. I don't know if you remember that. I was like, "Yo, this Lil Baby kid is fire as fuck." But I didn't really look at it like, I just looked at it like one of his little homies that he wanted to rap. You know what I'm saying? But he saw everything in him and helped them build it. And like that was my moment of like realizing like
what I seen in Baby was the same thing I saw in Jeezy. It's an authentic story. You know, like when I remember like it was yesterday. We were sitting outside the studio, the one that Pete had that, you know, we started developing our talent out of. And it was a morning. I was about to take the Migos on the road. And I was like, Baby, man, you should rap, bro. I was like, because how me and Baby got cool, you know, Baby been around Pete since he was a kid. You know, Baby's one of those prodigies. He's one of those kids that at 12 years old, 13 years old, he's gambling. He's in the gambling circles with grown men, you know. He's hustling. Like, that's what you know, since he was a child, he jumped off the porch at 12, 13, you know, with the grown men, you know. And he respected all through the city. So I was like, bro, you know, we were sitting there just talking about fashion, and I was like, man, you ain't ready to go in that booth? He would laugh and be like, man, you so funny, man. I'm a street cat. Man, it's them boys, blah, blah, blah. And then I said something to him. I said, man, they telling your story though. You know what I'm saying? Because most rap, his shit is real.
Yeah.
It's so authentic. You know, a lot of these rappers, you know.
I could name a few, but I won't.
You know, they tell us it's an art. Yeah, they telling a story, but his authentic. I'm like, they telling your story. And he just laughed. He always used to just laugh at me. Then he went to prison. And then he got out of prison. And when he got out of prison, like his probation, he used to come up to our studio. You know, you get out of prison, like, you know, or the halfway house, you got to have a job. You know, so our studio was basically his job. So he would come to the studio every day, you know, so he can get out the house, you know. And used to be on him. And then one day he sent me a record. I can't even remember the name of that record, but he sent me a record. And I remember I called P. I said, I knew he was a natural. And at that moment, because P and Baby, their relationship is like, it's special. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy because how me and Jeezy used to be. It's so special. At that defining moment, P put everything like, you know, he's like, I'm going to put this on my back and I'm gonna make sure this works. Yeah. P would get on the road with him. Like, P would never, he's hate getting on the road. Get on the road, run him around to all these different clubs, you know, to make sure he just stayed into it because he saw something in him too. He always wanted to help Baby get out those streets. But at that moment, it was like, oh, I can help him. And he comes from where I come from. And he's dope. You know, so we just got to develop it. Yeah. Wow. And that's when, the birth of Baby. Now he's one of the biggest. Yeah. And I can say one thing about him. It wasn't a quick road. He just want to be the best. And he would get better and better. He challenges himself every time to be the best. You know, in the studio, I'm watching, I'm like, oh, he really wants to be the best. You know, a lot of artists, you know, they just want to make some money. He had money when he came into the business. You know what I'm saying? So once he's seen that, oh shit, I can make some money from this, and I want to be the best. See, when you got that, it's hard to beat them.
So I seen this
Mike Crypto.
I seen this viral moment, you know what I'm saying, a few months ago where said you sold part of your company for damn near $500 million.
Yeah. I mean,
walking around New Orleans, never was like, that's Coach K. Yeah, but who would recognize me anymore? Goddamn Bitcoin's in the toilet.
That was a
I
beautiful.
enjoyed the.
What was that decision and what that felt like?
I mean, you know,
and when the fucking check cleared, how many times did you
with,
look at your bank account?
I mean,
you're the only guy that does that.
Yeah, man, because
he did it. He had to.
But it's a lot that goes on with that though, too, man. I mean, like, you know, the moment we knew we wanted to, you know, we was presented with an opportunity, you know, we was like, maybe we should think about this. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, I think what really did it was when Takeoff. When he, you know, what happened to Takeoff, man, because it was like, damn, like you said earlier, the business was getting very dangerous. You know what I'm saying? And you know, we was presented with a great opportunity where we could still run our business and, you know, be able to take some money off the table. And it was just the right opportunity, you know, and we took it. And I just want to speak on that, though, because you're like, well, how was you feeling when the check? Still got a lot of work to do. You know what I'm saying? You do these deals, it's like, you know.
There's an earnout.
Yeah, you know, you still gotta you gotta be in it. You know what I'm saying? You just not, oh man, you know, hey man, he just picked up 3. No. You got taxes, you know, you have an earnout, you know, and you still gotta work. You know what I'm saying? So it's a beautiful thing though, because you know there is a you know, you hit a milestone, especially what was beautiful for us as African American men in the music business. A lot of guys before us that we talked about earlier didn't get that opportunity, man. You know, and when me and P really sat down, we was like, you know what, man, we got this opportunity ahead of us that we can take, you know, where the youngsters behind us can be like, you know what, there's a benchmark that we really could do this and get there. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said,
Well, listen, if you think about black culture, right? I mean, blacks have created a ton of culture in America and abroad, and up until very recently, didn't own any of it.
didn't own it.
And so you're in a small handful of people, right? Jay-Z, a few others, where you and your partner P really become, you know, stunningly wealthy, and become in that respect great role models.
Yep.
I mean, there's, you know, you can probably take all the centimillionaire black guys that came from the hood and, you know, fit them in 2 rooms.
Yeah.
And so, congrats on
Thank
that.
you. I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all though, man, because when people don't understand, Mel is my brother, but then he introduced me to Mike and Dave, and just us starting to hang out, and we would have conversations. And I don't talk a lot. Y'all probably noticed that. Mel talks a lot. I don't talk a lot, but
Mike talks a lot.
But I like to listen though. But I like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy because you two are alike. And me and Dave are like, and I think that's all. Me and Dave got super cool. Like, you know, like, you know what? Dave's my guy. You know, you're my guy. You know, and I think that's why y'all so, you know, but it's crazy. But I learned, you know, just sitting back listening, you know, like you have to be a good listener, you know, to learn, you know, like, and you know, all the successes you guys have had, you know, I'm looking, you know, and learning and want to, you know, be there. You know what I'm saying? Diversify my business now, you know, into other opportunities.
I mean, let's talk about, you know, us buying Bojangles together.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. I mean, we all did it together.
Yeah, we all did it together.
Like, that's what friends do, come together, and we became the largest black franchise owners at Bojangles.
Yep.
And you got a ton of other shit going on, right?
Yeah, man. You know, investments and, you know, my film and television. I mean, just got put on a halt. But, you know, we was having really good success in film and television this year. We got, we just sold 3 scripted shows. We got 3 non-scripted shows on television right now. And 2 movies, you know, that we've done. So it's a good business for us.
And sports.
In sports.
And
I
sports,
was going to
yeah.
get to in sports. You have success in sports, you know. And that was all a part, you know, 4 years ago where I was like, you know what? We got to diversify the business, man. We got to, you know, like if we leading, we got our hands, we the pulse of culture, and music touches all these different avenues. We got to be in it, you know. And it's crazy. COVID birthed a lot of that. You know, COVID was fucked up, but at a lot of things, it slowed everything down, so we could concentrate on other things. You know,
You let P wear all the jewelry.
he just loves it.
Coach never wears a
Coach
chain.
got watches. A lot of. He got way more watches than me.
That's not true. No, it's not.
It is.
It's not. It's not true. You know,
He got a lot of watches.
I don't have a lot of watches, but I have a lot of vintage cars.
Oh, yeah, you do. Definitely do.
Nah, but
If you was president for a day, what would you do?
Got to change one law.
I can change one law.
Get your buddy out of jail.
Yeah, I would do that, but I think free healthcare and education. You know, I think like country. I think once Canada has, you know, I would change that. You know, because I mean, education is a big, big thing, and educators don't get paid nothing. You know, but we put our children in their hands. You know,
And if
This is Mel's favorite question.
if you had a superpower, one, what would your super
Well, you're going to be a
hero
superhero.
name be, and what would your superpower be? There gotta be some shit. He stole Thor, which was crazy.
Mel will never forgive him. Never forgive him.
Because of the hair, right?
because of it, I can see. Damn. If I could be.
The tickler.
Nobody wants to be.
Slow down.
Listen.
Out of the superheroes that they're
No, you can make your own.
Nah. You gotta make your own shit up.
I would think the powers of like Superman, right?
Yeah.
But be invisible. You know?
My man.
But be invisible, you know?
I said I wanted to be invisible. They thought I was crazy.
So
No, I didn't. I liked it.
you can come. So you know what's so crazy? So I took my son to see Spider-Man.
The new one.
The new
I heard
one.
it's amazing.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
He went twice. He went with his mother to the premiere on Thursday. He fell asleep because it was a little late. The premiere was late. But then I took him at 6 o'clock. And he fell asleep again. I'm like, Maxwell, he's like, but Dad, it was just too long. But in Spider-Man, he has a new power where he can be invisible. It was insane. I don't want to give it up. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't seen it. But
My 25-year-old's been twice. He said it's the visuals are spectacular.
it's insane. It's really insane. The music is fire. They got
Damn, I
off.
gotta go see that.
They got
shit.
now. Check it out. It's 2.5 hours though. Just be prepared. But they got off.
All right. One more question from me. Have you ever rapped, man?
No.
Be honest.
Have I ever rapped like freestyle? There's a tape probably floating around. I'm gonna tell you. So we used to go. My friends. This like I'm like 19, 18. You know. No, I was 21 because I didn't start smoking weed till I was 21. And this is the after my accident. I'm back home, you know what I'm saying, trying to get my confidence back up to come out into the world. And my friend, one of my friends I grew up with, he DJ'd. Like all my friends fucking either DJ'd or rapped. That's why I became a manager. Yeah. You know, my first label was called Universal Stars.
For real?
In 1993, 93 was in Indianapolis. Me and my friends, two of my friends were in school for law. So they was the attorneys. I was an A&R. And then my cousin rapped and DJ, and we used to have sessions at my friend just at his studio. But I ain't gonna lie, we would all be down there smoking weed, you know, and just freestyling. So, you know what I'm saying? And then I did a party. You know, I'm always trying to make some money. So I used to do these parties, me and one of my guys. So like, damn, all our friends rap, DJ, so we gonna do the parties, you know, to make some money. So we did a party at this place called the Bomb Shelter. That's what we called it in Indianapolis. And I got fucking high as hell off. I was smoked weed and drank.
The Chronic.
And I'm hosting a party, and I get up on the mic and I fucking start rapping. I'm feeling it, you know? And it's a tape floating around somewhere, you know what I'm saying?
Somebody find us that tape, man.
Nah, my friends got it, though. You'll be dying laughing. Like, the fuck is he doing on stage? And why is he rapping?
It kind of sounds like Mike at his parties, but without the rapping.
Oh, man.
Yeah, man.
So we got a financial guru, a real estate guru. If you had questions for them, what would you ask Mike? What would you ask Dave for advice?
My advice would be he gave me a gem one time. And it sticks with me. Because I came to him, I was like, man, I'm about to invest. No, I think I came, I'm like, I'm about to come into some money. And I need to know what to invest in. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, he gave me a story of when he first came into a large sum of money, and he kind of gave me a gauge. He was like, listen, people don't know that I only invested 1% or 2% into this company. You know, people think I fucking took all this money and invested, you know, a lot of money to get to this amount of money. But he was like, don't do that. He was like, don't think you're going to take a large amount of your earnings, right, and go invest it in this one thing and it's just going to blow. He was like, you know, it's a feeling too. He's like, I took 1%. And I think it was
Bitcoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin. Yeah.
To the moon.
To the moon. When he told me that, I promise you that was the gem of a lifetime. I share that. So all my friends, they like, you know, they making money, but it's not like you making a lot of money. It's like, yo, I'm going to take 100,000. And I'm like, bro, you only worth 200,000-300,000. Why are you going to take, you know, you're going to take. And
you worked so hard. He's worked so hard to build this nest egg up.
Yeah.
You've got to be protect it, and then wait till you see something you're really sure of. But on the other things, the small bets.
And then for Dave, you know, investing in dirt, man. Like, they're not making no more dirt. You know, you can, all these fucking, this tech, this, that, you know, I don't even know how people get my number now, you know. Our email is most insane shit, but.
Coach K at CoachK.com.
But no, in the dirt, it's not, you know, like, that was just, you know, when you just spending time, when you came down to Atlanta, and, you know, I was sitting back, you know, just listening, and I'm like, those was gems, you know what I'm saying? Like, just start here, and then build here. You know, don't try to get so crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, just start here and just keep building.
All right. So we always say this at the end, but like we want to leave the guests or our listeners, I should say rather, with one piece of advice. We call it like an ounce of gold. So if you can leave them with like kind of your like
he's already dropped some gold, but like one more ounce.
Yeah, we've all dropped lots of gold, but I'm saying like, yeah, one more like kind of final ounce of gold, you know, in terms of like people
for the
starting
entrepreneur,
out, for the entrepreneurs,
the manager, the kid, whoever, whatever. Just what's your ounce of gold?
Wow.
It's not a trick question. We might even change the damn name of the podcast to Ounce of Gold.
No, we're not.
We're going to fight over this one.
I got this new thing now, man, because just like managing these artists and you know, signing these artists and putting your whole, like, you'll put your whole life into somebody, not knowing what's to come back. So I'm more or less now like, I'm not gonna bet on anything, you know, or that I wouldn't bet on myself first. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna fucking like go balls to the wall for you. Bet on your damn self, man.
I think that's very wise.
For real.
I feel like all the great things that I've done, the things that have really worked out, have always been when I've like bet on myself. Yeah. You know, every now and then you get lucky with something else, but really it's like you bet on yourself and you stick with it.
Because even in the music, once I be stopped, well, I'm still a manager, but the defining moment where I was like, you know what? I'm going to bet on myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's when everything changed.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good ounce of gold. Bet
on yourself.
Yeah.
Dave usually has an ounce of gold that he gives.
Oh shit! You got gold? You walking around with gold?
Every guest who gives us an ounce of gold gets one back.
That's an ounce of gold.
That's real gold.
Damn.
Real gold.
Wow.
1 ounce. So
that's nice.
And I bet you, by the end of the year, it's worth more than it is today.
I bet you it is. This is beautiful.
I'm bullish gold.
Dave, very special, man.
Coach, that was awesome.
Coach, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, I shared some things on here, man. Oh, y'all opened me up today.
Oh, one more question. what does the term business untitled mean to you?
Well, what's a better term for a podcast? Business Untitled or An Ounce of Gold?
Not like business untitled, but I think I mean like in business. When I seen that, I was like, "Fuck, that's a fucking dope ass name, Business Untitled." No, dead serious because it's like
Look
you
at
can't.
Mike, he's turning red.
Because for real, like the shit that we do, you can't really put a title on it. People all the time ask me, "So, who are you? Are the CEO? You did this?" I say, "Man, you can't put a title on what the fuck I do." You know what I'm saying? Like I just run a business.